Okay, one thing I do want to discuss is consciousness. You did mention earlier there are levels to being awake and sort of degrees to it.
Yeah.
So one thing we've spoken in and around, but I want to delve into is the religious mindset versus the conscious mindset. And can someone be both religious and awake or conscious of what's going on?
Oh man, I've never met I've never met a religious conscious person personally. I've never met one. It's a little bit like being asleep and awake at the same time, right? You might sleepwalk from time to time. You might say some stuff that's like, oh yeah, that was deep. But on the whole, you're sleeping. So yeah, I don't even want to go at religious mindsets or anything like that.
Well, when we speak about the religious mindset, what specifically are we talking about? Because there are different definitions for religious.
Absolutely, there are different definitions for religious, and there are different religions who in those different religions, there's different aspects either of the religion that may be closer to that which is reality or that which is nature, or the way that the religion is taught is either closer to the truth or further away from the truth. I think I'll go on to that. Like, religious mindsets is a very important point. I'll go on to that. I think one important thing I would say is that, we mentioned there's different levels to consciousness. So even though I've never met a religious conscious person, and I'll go into why that why that is. What I would say is that just because someone describes themselves as conscious doesn't mean they are that. And anyone who is conscious, if you use that term, it's a term I'm not even that fond of now because of what it's associated with. But for anyone who is conscious, they understand and understand that that's a journey. And that journey is ever moving, you're ever growing, you're ever changing. And if you ever reach a point where you stop and you say, yeah, I'm that person now, I've got it all, then you're probably sleeping again. You have to be growing constantly, and you have to understand that, yeah, there's layers, there's stages, there's levels to this. And so you keep growing and you master this level of information or information, there's more to come. You master that, there's more to come. And that was the journey that really Baba Yaanuwn took us through. When I say us as a people, took us through when he first came in the late 60s, the 70s, and started teaching, when he identified where we were consciously. You can always be more asleep. You can always be more awake. He identified where we were, and he said, I'm going to have to take them from here. These are the questions they are asking. These are, for lack of a better word, nursery or kindergarten questions. Not to say they have no application. Not to say that religion has no use at all, because it does have a use. It does have a purpose. So within where they are, I'm going to have to slowly walk them through. And so what I would say is that if you can't necessarily, I think you have to look at it in two ways. You have to look at us as a people and say, yeah, we should have graduated out of religion by now. But that doesn't mean I'll look at an individual and write them off because that individual is in religion. I don't think any of us have the right to do that. None of us know their story. None of us know their spirit. None of us know their soul. So we don't have the right to look at an individual and say, that person, it's difficult. Sometimes you listen to what people say and you say, yeah, come on, that soul is doomed. That soul is doomed. But ultimately, you don't know the soul, you don't know the spirit, so on and so forth. So what you could look at a religious person and say, well, I might look at it and say, from my perspective, well, are you in that religion and are you really reading the book of that religion, whether it's the Bible or Quran or whatever it is? Are you really reading it? Okay? If you're really studying, I can respect that. If you're really reading the book, you've really read it from front to back, back to front, you know the quotes, not just the quotes that sound good, not just the quotes that fill you with hope so that you can go around and spread that hope to others who are feeling the same fears as you are, the fear that you're all going to burn in hell or whatever the fear is, and you need that hope that this Jesus is going to come down from the clouds and save you. Not just the good quotes, not just the ones that sound nice, not just the Jesus loves you, not just those quotes, but all of the quotes. We've gone through some of them on the channel and it's like, what does that mean? That's a concern. If you've read it and you're reading it and you're like, you know what, I've decided that this is my way of life. I'm going to dedicate myself to studying it. If I believe this is the book, I'm going to read it. When I finish reading it, I'm going to go and learn the original language of the book. It was given to me. If I believe that this is the holy book that came from the Almighty, it was given to me in a particular language. It was given to humans in a particular language. I've read it, but between me and God is the translator. Let me get rid of that middleman. Let me go and learn the original language. Oh, I've learned the original language now. Let me go and read the book again now in the original language. Let me dissect it. Let me really learn and absorb it without any biases, without any faith or belief or hope or fears, without any emotion. Let me just absorb that which was given to me. Then I can respect that. My opinion is if you do that, you won't be able to stop there. You have to actively say, I don't want to do it anymore. Actively say, because once you start the journey of actually learning the book and learning what it says and learning the original language, it will lead you past and beyond that. It will lead you further back. You will inevitably ask the questions, what came before this? Why is God saying replenish the earth, for example? Why is he saying it twice? What came before this? Why is the lineage of Adam 6,000 years ago, where there's so many different sects of science now that easily show that life, especially in Africa, was way before that? I need to go back. What does this word mean? What does that? Where did these languages come from? So on and so forth. So my opinion is that if you really study it without bias, you'll go back before it. So if I see someone who's studying it, who's at that stage in their development where they're like, yeah, I'm studying it, I'm really reading it, I can't judge you because that's where you are. I look at it as a people and I'm like, we can't be there because religion has expired. There is so much information and outformation out there now. It requires a bit of blind faith, blind behavior to stay there.
Well, that's what I was going to say in a sense. Is this to say that to stay in religion, especially as one of our people, it requires a form of willful ignorance?
Yeah. Willful.
Where you're like, I'm not going to look too deep into that.
I'm sorry. And people in a religion will readily admit that. I've spoken to people who are already like, nah, I stick to the Bible. Only the Bible. I don't go anywhere outside that. I don't read a science book. I don't really read any other holy book. I don't read any other tablet that predated the Bible. I don't look into any culture that came before this Christian culture, which is only a couple thousand years old. Islam, even younger, about 1,500 years old. I'm not going to look back before that. I'm staying right here and they'll declare it. But they wouldn't have even read that book. That's the problem. They've only read the quotes that sound nice, but they'll declare it and they'll stay right there. So it requires that type of blind behavior to really stay there. But if you've just started and you're at that point where you're like, no, I found this makes sense to me to some degree. I'm reading it. I'm absorbing it. I won't judge the journey. I'll say as a group of people, we should be beyond that. If you were just starting your spiritual journey now in 2024, I wouldn't direct you to any religion. Even though I understand that as a people, we had to go through and graduate out of those schools. We were put in them. We had to graduate out of them. We had to learn what it really meant. Because even how, and that's what I mentioned, even how the religion is taught isn't close to the truth of even that religion. There are so many truths of Christianity, if you term it like that Christians don't know. Because they haven't read the book, they haven't really studied. They're being told by their priests or their leaders that this is what it is. And they're too lazy to go and find out for themselves. So that's what I would say. So I wouldn't dismiss the religious person, and I wouldn't dismiss religion. It's not our job to dismiss religion.
Yeah, it's not a job. I remember Bubba once saying intentions do count as well. You could have someone who's a devoted Christian, but their intentions were pure. They truly believed. It's what they should be doing, and it was the right thing. Yeah,
and they've got a good heart.
And a good heart.
And they treat people nicely.
Yeah.
And they're kind to people. And, and they have values and so on and so forth. And that's why I don't dismiss any person. And some of the worst people I've met are those who are conscious. I've met some bad religious people. I've met some bad conscious people. So...
Swings and roundabouts.
It swings and roundabouts. But the point is that, it does, to stay in there with access to the information that we have now requires a level of blind. you have to ignore certain things to maintain your faith and your religion in this day and time. Because when I say it's expired, and I don't say it, when Baba Yaanuwn says it's expired, it's that look at the information that you have readily available to you. Now, religion really acts as a number of things. It's really a cage for your soul, so to speak, and it acts as a sort of nursery for your spiritual understanding, because you understand there is something more. There is something more. That's an actual fact. There is something more than human beings. We're not the ultimate power of the universe or multiverse. There is something more than us. There is something more to us than our human state. So you understand that, but it's a very basic understanding. You're looking at some God in the sky. You're praying to him. There's no science involved. There's no culture really involved. You just, because you've been told this is what it is, without any research, without any backing it up, you believe it to be. And which is one of the key aspects of religion. They readily admit is faith and belief. So when we talk about the religious mindset, why can't a religious mindset be conscious? Religious mindset, the problem with religion or religious people that I've encountered, and I've said this before, first of all, they're lazy. Not lazy in the sense that they won't stand out in the cold with their pamphlets spreading the good word. They'll do that. Not lazy in the sense that they won't go round on Saturday morning, knock on your door and say, listen, Jesus. So they got energy. Lazy in the sense that their mind is lazy. They won't study. They won't read in this area. These might be educated people in other areas. They might have gone on law degrees, medicine degree. It doesn't. But in this particular area, to be fair, once you get a medicine degree, you're going to have to reflect to religion. And you do anything scientific, you're going to have to be like, I don't know about this religious. But my point is, these people will be what you might term as intelligent. But when it comes to the realm of their soul and spirit, which you would argue is the most important realm, they're lazy. They don't study. They don't read. They don't check anything out for themselves. Reason being is that religion is based on hope and fear, or fear and hope. It's not based on love. They'll tell you it's based on love. Jesus loves you. No, but religion is based on hope and fear. You're scared of what's going to happen to the world, so you pray to God. You're scared of the afterlife, so you pray to God.
Exactly that. That's how they're trained to approach you. Because that's what we said before. We have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses come visit us in this country. And when they knock on your door, they always lead with something that's intended to spark worry or fear. Like, why are we seeing all these deaths and all this chaos in the world? And what do we think it means? And then they hit you with a verse.
Yeah, exactly.
It means these things can be washed away. You just repent.
Believe in Jesus. To God. He's going to save us all. And so you put you in a state of fear. It's a standard marketing technique. You know, if I make you feel like something potentially bad is going to happen in a limited amount of time and you have to act now, you'll be more likely to buy my product. That's standard marketing. People know that. If I put up on the screen, this is on a deal. What's the product? This speaker system, this PlayStation console is on a deal.
24-hour deal.
Yeah. So if I say it's on a deal and I just say, yeah, 75% off, buy it when you want. You won't buy it immediately. You go, let me think about it. I got a few days, 75%, whatever it is. I'm good. If I say this is on a deal for the next 10 hours, you're huffing and puffing like, should I get this deal? What should I do? Should I get? And you'll act.
Yeah.
I've seen it in workings. Me and Ray went to one of those conferences once for like trading and all of that, and they'd done their whole trading speech. Yeah, you can trade and you can make like £1,000 a day. And people there like, At the end, I was like, okay, so we're only accepting 10 students. So you want to do it? Everybody rush to the front. Oh, you give me a limited time to act on this, and you're telling me if I don't, I'm going to be one of the poor people on the streets begging? I might have to act. And so it's the same tactic when they come around with the religious talk. Oh, look at what do you think about the evils of this world? Oh, but did you know? I know it's bad, but did you know that Jesus is going to save us? We just have to repent. So that's what they lead with, rather than addressing why someone who loves us would let this happen. They lead with that, and so it's based on fear. It's based on hope, false hope, primarily. And so that's a section of the religious mindset that I would have a real issue with, which I won't plaster everyone in religion with, but everyone I've met in religion has it, is that you're lazy. You haven't even read the book that you're holding in your hands. You haven't even read that. And so I know, and anyone who's read it knows more about the book than you. And so I'm able to say, yeah, what about that quote? What about that quote? And then you're there flabbergasted. Like, how do I defend this? You can't defend it because there's some things in the book you can't defend. But you weren't prepared.
Yeah.
Because you were lazy, because you didn't read the book. Even you declared you're staying in that book, you didn't read it. And so that's one of the primary things. You don't study. You're not studious. They need you that way, because if you start to study, you will graduate out of it. If you truly read, even if you start in the book, which I said I wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't direct someone there to start their spiritual journey if they're started now, personally. But even if you start in the book, if you truly read it, it will lead you to questions that will graduate you beyond that level. It's inevitable, because you have questions. You'll read something and say, okay, so what does it mean there? So what's going on there? Was this one God? Was it multiple gods? What's the word here? What's happening? Was this the first time this ever happened? Did life start 6,000 years ago? So on and so forth. And all these questions will trigger graduation, will trigger elevation if you truly ask them without fear. If you're asking them and you need the answer to make it make sense to you, to make Christianity okay, then no. Now, if you ask it just to ask the question, you graduate.
But that is the danger of fear as well. Because they've got us in a state where you could already have your mind pre-locked to certain parameters before you've even done anything. So you could read the full book, but then be scared to ask certain questions.
Exactly.
If you're already in a state of fear, which I was going to get you to build on as well. What are the main dangers of living by way of fear or not in truth also?
Well, yeah, if you're living by fear and all your decisions are controlled by fear, then you're controllable, aren't you? It's fear is a negative emotion. First of all, spiritually, you attract certain energies towards you if you're always scared. It's like, when they speak about beings who could smell blood or beings that could smell fear. You attract certain beings towards you if you're always in fear. But the point is that if you are scared, you can't live in truth. Because if you're scared, if the fear controls you, you can't live in truth. Because what it means is that as soon as the truth doesn't match whatever you need to get past your fear, you won't acknowledge it. You'll be like, no, that's not a fact. Because you're so scared of that reality. So you're so scared that when the truth comes, like, hey, yeah, they might be aliens. Hey, yeah. No, they might have created you for this purpose. Hey, yeah, they might. Truths that your body's like, what? No. Because then if I acknowledge that truth, even though I'm seeing the stack of evidence you've presented, if I acknowledge that truth, that means the truth that I need to, the statement that I need to be true, whether it's Jesus is going to save me, suddenly that disappears, that crumbles. I can't have that crumble. Cognitive dissonance. I can't have that crumble. That's my world. That's my reality. Now you're telling me not only is Jesus not going to save me, but he was the devil all along. Nah, I can't.
Yeah,
Stop
it's
it.
too much.
It's too much.
Too much.
It's too much. So even if I go in the book and show you this and that and that and this, the fear means that you can't respond. You can't absorb, and that's why they have it. And believe me, the perpetrators of this system understand it. They understand it. This spell don't underestimate the spell. Don't, even as a so-called conscious person, you might look at a religious person and think, what's up? Really? You're still stuck there? Don't underestimate the spell. It worked for a reason.
Exactly that. The spell is deep. And one thing I want to get to, that's why we speak of religious mindset as well as being one who is in religion. Religious mindset you could carry in any walk of life. So we've witnessed this in multiple occasions where you're talking to someone and it's not just about religion, it can be about anything. And they've locked themselves into these parameters where they're so scared to accept the truth. So you can literally see their mind working to refute whatever facts you're coming at them with. Yeah. And so that's to say you can have a religious mindset and you're not in religion, which was one of my next things I wanted you to talk about. Can you have a religious conscious person to flip it?
Yeah. You absolutely can. Let me quickly finish on the religious mindset.
Yeah.
So we spoke about laziness, making you lazy. You're not studying. The other problem that I find with religious mindset is that they put their religion first. Because of how much fear is associated, of course you would put it first. So they put their religion first. And if you put your religion first, I mean, when I say put it first, but before their people, before mental freedom, before our Sabbath, they put it first. The problem is it makes you numb to the real things that might impact your people or your community. You might look at us as Africans and say, yeah, we're under it. We're at the bottom of the pile. Everyone abuses us. Everyone abuses Africa. But because you're in Christianity and the Caucasian over there is in Christianity and someone else over there is in Christianity, you're aligned because you've put your religion first. You're aligned more with them than you are with your people who are suffering. So I've seen plenty of us put our religion first where I'm like, okay, but this religion isn't doing anything for us. As a people, we're the most religious. We're the most dedicated to the religion. Africans are the most, they put their soul into it. They pray, they sing their hearts out. They're there every Sunday, multiple times a week sometimes, doing what they do. You're out here. Remember, we spoke about in the last section about how they get us to do their work for them. Jehovah's Witnesses, even though the religion only manifested recently in association with the most recent race, which is the Caucasians, the people coming round to give you the religion are often Negroids or Africans or people of African descent. So they're wearing that hat. You're coming around. You're giving it, and that comes first. So it makes you colorblind because you'll say, oh, we're all the same. Mm-hmm. We're all the same. But as I've said before, you're saying we're all the same now when black people are at the bottom of the pile. So they put us to the bottom. Then they said, doesn't matter, we're all the same. But we're at the bottom because of who we are, because of our race. And so as a religious person, you put your religion before that. Before escaping, it will always come to that because some people might say, no, I put my people first. But if you're in the religion the way they teach it, no, because it's always going to come down to love everyone, don't see color, this, that, Jesus loves you, or what color is Jesus, it doesn't matter, etc., etc. So you're lazy and you can't ever put your people first. You can't ever in their religion. How could you? Their religion is their religion. And so those are the primary things that I look at and say, yo, you can't really be conscious, because even if you're trying to take some sort of journey towards consciousness, towards being aware what's actually going on around us, how we're trapped, so on and so forth, the religion will be a barrier at some point. It will be a barrier, and you won't be able to go past a certain point because you say, oh yeah, but God. And I've seen it in action. I've been with people who'd be like, yeah, I care about my people. But as soon as you start asking the pertinent questions, well, okay, what has the religion done for us then? As a people, don't we need to reflect? It's not doing anything for us. These days, in this part of the world, I meet more black religious people than I meet white religious people. And I meet more white atheists, not to say that we should be atheists, than I meet black atheists. More white people that are looking at the religion like, that doesn't make any sense. What is that about? I'm out. I'm not dealing with this. Then I meet African people when it makes the least sense to us because of how long we've been on the planet. How can that be the path to our spiritual salvation when we've existed for so much longer than it has? It doesn't make sense. So everyone before it came was in hell with the devil. Every African that was on this planet before the religion manifested is in hell with the devil because they didn't have Christianity. They didn't have their salvation. So that's the religious mindset aspects that I see. There's others, but that's the ones that I'm like, no, come on. As far as whether you can have a religious conscious person leads me to the third, which kind of ties in to the first two and maybe ties into the laziness. One of the third, what I would say is the third aspect of the religious mindset is the waiting. Because if you're in a state of fear and hope, you're waiting. You're waiting for Jesus to come. You're waiting for him to come out the clouds. My children, it's finally time. Let's go to heaven. I know you've been suffering, especially you ones, you darker toned ones. I know you guys been suffering, but I'm here now. Let's go. You're in waiting, and religion puts you in this state of waiting for something to come and save you. And so, of course, in that aspect, you can be a religious conscious person, because what happens is there are different levels to it. You might be in Christianity and be like, and have the white Jesus up on the wall, and then realize that can't be it. Even in the Bible, it describes him differently than that. So then you might replace that with black Jesus is up on the wall, still waiting, but you've replaced white Jesus with black Jesus. Okay, and then eventually you say, oh no, Christianity itself is not Asian enough. Let me go back to this religion. But you're still waiting. Oh, okay, I've understood that. Let me go back to this religion. Are you still waiting? Oh, let me become a conscious mind. But you're not building anything. It's why we spoke about consciousness and culture.
Yeah.
Right? You're not building anything. You have no identity, but you're conscious. You understand atoms, and you know that the Anunnaki came here once or twice. I'm conscious. But you have no culture. You have no identity. You have no vibration, no frequency. You have no dress. You have no wear. You have no food. You have no dance. You have no soul, no music. All these things you associate with a people, you don't have it, but you're conscious. So all these different stages, what happens is that you reach that stage, but you're still waiting. You're waiting for someone to save you, or you're waiting for someone else to build something. It's not your responsibility. You're waiting. You're in waiting. And that goes all the way up to what some might call the heightened stage of consciousness. I still see people waiting. Oh, no. So-and-so is going to solve this. Not taking any action, even when the actions have been defined clearly for them. Do this as a people. This will raise you. Nobody's doing it. We've had our language for quite some time. Learn the language. It's your tone. It's your frequency. Nobody's learning it. So you're still in waiting. What are you waiting for? What would you be waiting for?
Exactly.
And so that's what I would associate with a religious mindset, which is, I think, very, very difficult. And believe me, I don't stand on any high horse making that statement. I think the religious mindset is one of the most difficult things to overcome, because every so often you're going to go back into that place of waiting or not acting. You're just, what are you waiting on? You're not doing. There's things that you should be doing. You're not doing them, such as the world, such as the system, such as the way the world bullies you into submission anyway. That you're going to look back. You might have been active at one stage. You might have been learning. You might have been growing. And when I say active, I mean active for you, growing, whatever that means for you. You might have been doing it. And then you look back and you'd be like, for the last year, 2 years, I've done nothing. What am I waiting for? If I was waiting on me, if I'm on the other side waiting on me to act right, I'd be losing my patience. Like, 2 years ago you had it, you was doing it. Then you just stopped. You got distracted. Now you're doing this, you're doing that. So I associate with religion. I think it stays with you. I think it stayed with us on the whole. No matter what stage we've been through as a people, we hang on to that. No, we're waiting. So-and-so is going to solve this problem. So-and-so is going to build this temple. So-and-so is going to do this. So-and-so is going to do that. And you're just sitting around not doing much. And that's no different than a Christian who's waiting for Jesus to come and save us all. And as long as I believe in him, I'm okay. So that's what I would say. Went on a bit there, but
no, it's pertinent.
Yeah. Religion by design is to trap you. So it's very, very difficult to be within religion and be free. Very difficult to be religious and conscious. But what I would say is that there are many layers of the trap, and such is the nuance of it, that someone could be feasibly at some stage of religion and be more awake or closer to the divine than someone who's labeling themselves conscious. That's easy to happen, and I've seen it before. But to be religious and conscious, I think, is a contradiction, because religion by design is to trap you, and to be African religious and conscious, I'll put it there. To be African religious and conscious is a contradiction, because as soon as you become aware, one of the first things you have to become aware of is self. That's the most important thing. If you become aware of self. And when you become aware of who you are, how can you then be subject to a religion which came long after your arrival on the planet? It makes no sense.
Well, it's exactly that. And it's such an interesting thing, because I've met people who I consider highly articulate, cognitive in other areas, able to express with what seems to be a certain amount of intelligence. But then as soon as you get into the realm of, religious talk, per se, Christianity, because that's the main people I meet over here, you can't reason with them in that arena. But in every other arena you can. So it's kind of a mind-blowing thing. It
is a mind-blowing thing. And I just always remind people, we always say, the spell is deep. Don't underestimate the power of this spell that's been cast upon our people. Don't underestimate it. I know sometimes it looks silly, and someone who's awake sometimes will listen to something a religious person says and be like, but surely you hear what you're saying. So, surely you hear the contradictions. Surely you see this. Surely you see that. The spell is deep. Fear. Fear is their primary tool. We spoke about genetic trauma, genetic memory, genetic programming. Often the fear isn't even conscious. They don't know why. They were so articulate in all these other areas, and they reached this area and suddenly they fell apart and said, Jesus loves you. Oh, so why is he making us suffer? Oh, no, because, suffering's awful. But God's all knowing? Yeah, God's all knowing. So he knew this would happen. Yeah. So why didn't he stop it? No, because it's up to us. But he knows what we're going to do, right? Yeah, because he's all... Confusion. Suddenly the whole conversation falls apart and the logic's gone. Fear. And most of the fear is subconscious. That's why seemingly intelligent people succumb to it. Because most of it's been programmed into your genetics over generations. If they beat the fear into you, they made sure your ancestors were scared of freedom. So now you're scared of it. But you don't know what happened. You weren't there, so to speak. When your ancestors were getting tortured, when things were getting beaten and tortured into us, whether it's religion, whether it was different names, tones, vibration, frequencies, dress, behavior, mental state, all of that was beaten into you. We're not ourselves. You were beaten out of yourself and into another mind. So you're not yourself. You don't represent yourself. And because that trauma is in your genes, as you overstand if you watch our genetic memory videos or you do any study on genetic memory, which they've proven exists, by the way. So Baba Yaanuwn will speak about what we're spiritually comprised of and tell us how our ancestors are connected to us, tell us how we're connected to them, tell us that what they went through impacts us and what we go through impacts them, tell us of that connection. It'll take a while before they get to that level, but genetic memory, they've confirmed. Do your research on genetic memory. So when you overstand that genetic memory, you overstand genetic trauma, you start as and I put it in quotation marks, as a conscious person, you start to understand why our people react the way they do to the idea of mental elevation or to the idea of freedom or to the idea of stepping outside of their religion, but for a moment, just to see what's going on. You understand why they react that way to it. They'll call it faith. No, my faith is strong. Overstand that genetically it's fear. Genetically they've been programmed. So when you go back to Baba speaking in They're Black Devils, and he's speaking about, never did I think they had done such a good job. The job that has been done on us as a people has been extensive. So many layers. It's been done extensively. The beings that done it, they want control, and they were prepared to do whatever they had to do to get it. And so when you understand that, you start to understand and overstand, okay, that's why they respond like that. That's why it's like this. That's why there might not be any hope in that area. Just got to let them be. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. They're going to be at peace for now. I might just have to leave them be. If you come to me to have a discussion, let's talk about it. And you start to understand that. It's a layered and a nuanced subject. But
highly nuanced.
Yeah, you can't. Religion by design is designed to trap us, and it's all to do with the spirit and soul. It's to do with more than just the physical, and they're trying to trap us. They understand that us as Africans are the fuel to which anything lives. We're life. We're a representation of life. That which is dead must cling to us to survive, and so they understand that. And so all of this is by design, and there's different methods to which they do it, and religion is one of them. And it had its time because the 6,000-year rule was the 6,000-year rule. But that time has ended. So you do have the option now to step out of it. The information, the affirmation is there. The being is here. It's just whether we're going to choose that. A lot of people won't, unfortunately. A lot of people won't. And so, yeah, I advise, just read the books. Watch the episodes and put it together, because we're talking quite surface level. Not surface level, we're going in deep, but we're not really explaining all the different beings behind religion and why they're doing it and what they did and so on and so forth. But we've explained it before. Put the pieces together and you begin to form one, but you have to be willing to hear it out and listen. That's what I would say. And so most people in the religious mindset are not willing to hear it out and listen. They're not willing to question it. So that's why you can't be conscious, because a fundamental principle of consciousness is questions. Oh, so why? Why? What happened there? What was that about? Fundamental, no matter where you are. If you're outside of religion but you don't ask questions, you're not conscious. Why? What's going on there? Religion, and a fundamental part of the religious mindset is to not ask questions. Just accept it. Just accept faith, belief. I'm going to accept it. So yeah, hope that offers some perspective on it. It's a deep one.
It certainly does.